I think it's time for the start this session. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Symposium in topic applying a global policy framework to support regulations of new product in Asia. I hope everyone enjoy in this session, and I would like to give the session to the moderator Vandana and Anup Laha. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and it's a great honor and privilege to present in this session. I think we have a really interesting topic, as each of the countries in the region is really grappling with the challenge of how to regulate new products. So we have a really distinguished panel representing India, Bangladesh, and the Philippines today. So I wanted to just take a few minutes to actually start the panel by sort of sharing a regulatory framework on how to, how different countries are using this framework to actually, regulate new products. I just want this is, based on a campaign for tobacco-free guide, tobacco-free guide, and how countries can sort of use this framework to regulate, new products. So, we have a problem that we're seeing sort of across countries, where we have a plethora of new products ranging from IQOS, e-cigarettes, and all sorts of new products that are coming on the market. And the challenge that governments are facing on how do we address these new products, whether through a regulatory framework or through a ban or regulating them as medicinal products. So right now, just to sort of catch up on what we're seeing globally, we're sort of seeing three sort of major categories. One is of countries that are sort of enacting outright bans. So obviously in this region, you have, India, or you've got Thailand. You've got several countries in Latin America. We've obviously got countries like, like the US, as well as a lot of Western Europe that are using tobacco control measures. And then we've got a real few handful of countries like Australia and others that are beginning to regulate it as a medicinal or therapeutic product. So the real situation, as you're going to see in the example from Bangladesh and from Philippines and India, is that one size does not fit all of the countries. So if you look at the whole idea of this panel is to really look at how countries can make the decision on what regulatory scheme to apply to new products. So what we're going to go through is a three-step process on how that countries can regulate these products. The three-step process in terms of the goals of this process is, one is obviously the focus of countries is how to pursue their public health goals based on assessing country circumstance. And thirdly, based on the assessment of the country circumstance, they can choose the right regulatory option. And obviously, we've got these three options, as I just discussed: a complete ban, regulation as a medicinal product, and then just regulating using your current tobacco control laws. And then, we've got sort of a guide that's on the CTFK website that goes through all of these considerations. So the main points that we have, because of the urgent nature of this crisis, is because all of these products are coming into the market and they are targeting young adults, especially. And these, especially we saw as the experience in the US with Juul, there is very rapid uptake, because of the marketing and the very attractive nature in which, newer product companies are marketing to you. So governments need to act quickly. governments must really also consider the impact of e-cigarettes and how it is challenging all of the work they've done on tobacco control in order to make sure that the e-cigarettes as well as the new products challenge does not sort of set back all of the progress made on tobacco control. It's also very important that governments consider what evidence there is on the health harms and impact, and increasingly we're seeing more evidence from around the world. And basically the assessment must look at the impact on both individuals and on the population as a whole. Also, regulating e-cigarettes is consistent with WHO FCTC guidance. So step one, pursue public health goals. So I think each government in enacting a policy must really sort of look at what are the public health goals for, for that government in regulating. Obviously, the goal is to prevent vaping, to protect public health, to save lives, and to obviously, prevent any interference from the tobacco industry. And the final, obviously objective is to, sort of support people to quit, but that's sort of a false claim that the new product industry is making, that their products can help people quitting. In terms of preventing, e-cigarette use by non-smokers, especially youth, one of the things we want to emphasize is the use of nicotine in any form by youth, including e-cigarettes, is unsafe. Many countries have experienced patterns of high e-cigarette use by young people. And a lot of times, these products have been introduced in the market as a cessation device, but the reality is that these have increased, significantly increased youth, addiction to e-cigarettes without actually reducing or helping in quitting. If you look at it, a lot of the marketing and sales of e-cigarettes is targeted to young people, and they've been following the sort of playbook used by traditional tobacco industry. So basically, the bottom line we have to realize is the use of nicotine in any form by youth, including e-cigarettes, is unsafe. It causes addiction and can cause harmful changes to the developing adolescent brain. And this has been shown through numerous studies, especially done on Juul. So I think we need to also know that the e-cigarette continues to follow the tobacco industry's playbook and is very directly targeting young people. The other sort of step one in terms of pursuing public health goals is we must really minimize the potential health risk. So e-cigarette emissions contain nicotine and other harmful constituents, including nearly 80 compounds. A wide variety of very fancy, attractively marketed products are now available, and currently there is absolutely very little evidence to really understand the health risks from e-cigarettes. In terms of pursuing public health goals, the third prong is about assisting smokers to quit and avoid dual use. Substantial evidence that completely switching from conventional cigarette to e-cigarettes resulted in reduced short-term negative health outcomes. Some smokers report using e-cigarettes to quit nicotine entirely. Other smokers have quit smoking but continue to use e-cigarettes. So the reality is that using e-cigarettes has not led to quitting. So there is no e-cigarette on the market that has been medicinally licensed as a smoking cessation aid anywhere in the world. So really this claim is very false. The second step in really sort of understanding what countries should do to regulate the product is to really assess their country circumstance, because one size does not fit all. So the first issue in terms of relevant country-specific circumstances is to really look at the status of tobacco control measures. How well is a country doing under sort of the Global Tobacco Control Report, or GTCR, in sort of meeting the empowered measures? The second consideration is trends in smoking rates. Where are you? Is there a reduction? Is there an increase? Is there a plateau? And also, what is the existing market for e-cigarettes? So the first consideration in sort of country assessment, as you will see from the presentations, is to see, is the country already fully implementing most of the WHO FCT measures in the most effective approach for reducing tobacco consumption. And so in some ways, WHO Empower and FCTC measures are the most effective approach. If a country has not yet fully and strictly implemented all of these FCT measures, then the factor weighs in favor of a ban or medicinal regulation. If a country has actually fully and strictly regulated, implemented all FCT measures, so it's doing very well on Empower, then the factor the government could consider regulating e-cigarettes under its tobacco control measures. The second consideration is the trend in smoking rates. So again, if the WHO FCTC measures are fully implemented and smoking rates are falling, that factor weighs in favor of a ban. But if declines in smoking rates have stalled, then the government could consider regulating e-cigarettes using tobacco control measures. The third consideration in terms of countries is what is their existing market for e-cigarettes. If the market for e-cigarettes is still currently limited, then the factor weighs in favor of a ban. If it's a very well-established or extensive adult market for e-cigarettes, that sort of leans towards governments considering e-cigarettes being regulated under tobacco control laws. So in some ways, the three sort of consideration: established market, what is the status of tobacco control, and what are the smoking rates. So we would take the case study of Vietnam. So step one, if you look at the current status of tobacco control measures, so it's sort of moderate. Taxation is pretty low. So that factor favors a ban. In terms of trends in smoking rates, if you look at this, it's high rates, likely to be falling now as the tobacco control law was introduced in 2013. That again favors a ban. Existing market in e-cigarettes. So the in-country reports, it's a very minimal market, 0.2% users. So again, that favors a ban. But if you look at the United Kingdom, a very different sort of market, then in terms of status of tobacco control, it's very high. Most of the best practice measures have been introduced. In terms of trends in smoking rates, so low prevalence, rates of decline are slowing because they've obviously already implemented the measures early on and it's now kind of plateaued. So basically this maybe government can, based on both of these factors, consider regulating using its tobacco control laws. Existing market in e-cigarettes. So basically there is, it's a high prevalence market and it's a well-established market for e-cigarettes with 7% as opposed to 0.2% for Vietnam. So government can consider again regulating the, as a tobacco product. So basically based on these consideration, I think, countries can really either choose a complete ban, as you can see India has done, and we will hear the India case study, or they could regulate as a medicinal or therapeutic product, which very few countries in Asia have done or are considering. And then the third, which obviously a lot of the Western countries have done, is regulate strictly using tobacco control measures. But this requires, a very strong existing tobacco regulatory structure as well as sort of a well-developed e-cigarette market. So I think in terms of regulating as a medicinal therapeutic, I think, this is sort of 7 countries have done this: Australia, Chile, Hong Kong, Japan, Malaysia, Taiwan, and Venezuela. And basically in this case, this is an effective measure. If there is a limited existing market in e-cigarettes, smoking rates are steadily declining. And the most important thing is that there is a very robust process for approval of medicines and therapeutic processes. and that the government has also concluded that e-cigarettes have, there is evidence that this can really help as a cessation. So that's why you have very few countries. I mean, you have a few in Asia that have done this. So I think this is important. So we have Hong Kong, Japan, Malaysia, Taiwan in our region that have done this. And these are sort of the three considerations. So what options were not really, sort of regulated was consumer product regulation, which countries had considered, but we don't really have examples. And then, sort of the idea of regulating e-cigarettes in a manner less strictly than tobacco products. We also, in the guide that CTFK has developed, has an annex, which talks about sort of the limits on public use. The ban on sales, the age limits, as well as the ban on advertising, promotion, and sponsorship. Some issues around taxation policy, health warnings, and then the content regulation. So with this, I'm going to stop here because this sort of lays out, a guide for how countries can regulate, these products. And with this, I'm going to invite our first panelist, who is from Bangladesh. So Bangladesh is currently, seeing sort of, a lot of marketing from e-cigarettes and growing use. And they are still trying to consider, and they are strongly contemplating a ban. And so I'm going to invite Abdul Salam, who's the program manager in Dhaka for the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, to share the status, the challenges, and the way forward for regulating new products in Bangladesh. Abdul Salam, if you can share your screen and begin. Abdul Salam.
Hi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay,
Yes.
I hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you can share slide.
So, yeah. Can you see my slides? Can you see my slides?
ยังไม่เห็นใช่ป่ะ Okay, no.
that the industry has been arguing that its products are products are for harm reduction. Harm reduction arguably can apply to the current heavy smokers who are having a hard time quitting smoking. But harm reduction cannot be applied to those who do not smoke. Harm reduction is for those who are in harm's way, but that is not relevant at all for those who are not smoking. Yet the novel products are targeting a big segment of non-smokers, especially the youth, and the youth should be protected from harm from nicotine addiction. And there are studies too showing that the introduction of novel products becomes a pathway to smoking cigarettes. Still on the argument of regulation, although it's possible, just for the sake of argument, that ENDS can be used as a harm reduction tool, the jury is still out regarding its effectiveness. The long-term impact, precisely because they are new, can only be determined through longer-term studies. But at present, the evidence does not show the effectiveness of novel products as a smoking cessation tool. Here, we can apply the precautionary principle, which we draw from the regulation of the environment. Policymakers must adopt precautionary or preventive measures to protect the public from potential harm, given the high risk, uncertainty, and lack of scientific evidence. Evidently, the precautionary principle does apply to novel products. And because the harmful effect is acknowledged even by the industry, there's no way out but to, at the very least, to regulate. The industry acknowledges the need for regulation. However, it packages the product as a way to reduce harm. But still, that suggests it is still associated with a degree of harm. In this regard, the design and forms of regulation matter. It cannot be light regulation. As Bandana pointed out, strict regulation is the way to go. And in relation to the different types of regulation, I do argue that taxation is a superior way of regulation, most effective to discourage consumption of a harmful product, as also shown by how high tax rates for tobacco have led to a significant reduction of smoking prevalence. Now let's go to the menu of regulatory measures in the Philippines vis-a-vis e-cigarettes or vis-a-vis the novel products. As I said, one is taxation. Then there's the role of the Food and Drug Administration to determine and regulate, consistent with medical and scientific studies, the manufacture, importation, sale, packaging, distribution of the novel products. There is also a ban on sale to persons below 21 years old. There is likewise a prohibition of the manufacture, importation, sale, distribution of vapor products with flavoring other than plain tobacco or plain menthol. However, these regulatory measures are being challenged. There is an attempt by the industry to undermine the regulatory measures which are already enshrined in law. And here I list some of the ways that the industry is trying to undermine regulation. Industry's tactics of smearing public interest groups and regulatory agency for receiving foreign funding, for example, funding from Bloomberg Philanthropy, they call this, or the industry and its supporters call this foreign interference. Then you have the lobby of vested interests to transfer the regulation of the novel products from the Department of Health, which of course will side with public health, to the Department of Trade. So there's a shift of policy bias from the health objective to commercial considerations. There is a bill that the industry is supporting to reduce the age of access from the current 21 years old to 18 years old. There is a part of this bill that the industry is pushing is to expand the list of labors not covered by the bond. And lastly, there's a proposal to allow online trade. The bill right now is being subjected to a debate in the Philippine Senate. We are hoping that the attempt of the industry to dilute the existing law will be thwarted. That said, we still uphold that taxation is the most effective deterrent to the consumption of novel products. And in the Philippine case, there are some reforms that still have to be done, although we have already introduced tax rates for the novel products, we still see some significant gaps. First, we have to address the differentiated tax rates for different novel products. The reason behind this, and I can show you this figure, you will note that we have three products here. One is for the free base product. Then there is one for the salt nicotine, which is the blue one, and the green one is the heated tobacco product. You will note that heated tobacco product is as the lowest rate among these three products, and the free base has the highest rate. The reason behind this also has to do with the political economy. In other words, the lobby for the heated tobacco products is stronger than the lobby for the other products. At the same time, these tax rates were legislated at the time that the people, not only in the Philippines, but all over, witnessed the vaping crisis in the US. But it was the free base product that was really hit in that crisis, which would explain why public opinion favored stronger regulation vis-a-vis the free base products. So we have that problem, differentiated tax rates for different novel products. At the same time, we have to correct the significant gaps between the tax rates for the traditionally manufactured cigarettes and the novel products. Here you will note in this table that tobacco tax rates are still increasing till 2023. Right now, 2021, it's around 50 pesos. That's equivalent to $1 per pack, but it will be increasing till 2023 to 60 pesos. But for the novel products, you will see that except for the vapor product, the classic nicotine, the other products are taxed less. The heated tobacco products have a tax rate of 32.5 compared to the 60 for traditional tobacco. So there's still a significant gap between the novel products and the traditional tobacco with respect to tax rates. We have to correct that. So there are two issues here: the differentiated tax rates among the novel products and the significant gaps between the novel products on the one hand and traditional manufactured cigarettes on the other hand. So the key reform here is to treat traditional and novel products equally. Hence, the tax rates for all products have to equalize. This is to prevent the youth or would-be smokers from consuming harmful products, regardless of the degree of harm. Remember that the motto here is do no harm. It's not harm reduction, but do no harm. Or the second best, if you can have that equalization, is to first narrow the gap between the tax rates governing traditional and novel products. Now, what are the arguments that we can use in relation to taxation? This is the language of economists. Well, the arguments to tax tobacco are the same arguments to tax the novel products. The negative externality argument holds for both. In particular, the cumulative number of individual diseases associated with smoking or vaping results in a tremendous economic burden for society, and it will be the taxpayers that will be paying for this burden. The costs will be shouldered by the taxpayer. So that is a negative externality. Of course, the other externality argument is the second-hand vape, which also causes harm. The last figures I'll show would illustrate how effective taxation is to discourage consumption. Here, this table shows the increase over time of the tax rates vis-a-vis the traditional tobacco products. So sometime in 1997, you will note that the tax rate is only about 1 peso. So from 1 peso, we had a breakthrough in 2012 when we were able to increase the note here that at a certain time in 2011, the lowest tax rate was at 2.72, 2 pesos and 72. We were able to increase that to 12 pesos in 2013. That's a huge increase. And from there on, we were able to have a single rate. So from 2013, you will see how the tax rates have significantly increased over the last 10 years. So from 12, it is now 60. And even after 2023, we have this automatic price mechanism to correct for inflation, equivalent to an annual increase of 5%. Here's another graph to show how the tax rates have increased over time. And the outcome, I'll just show you one slide here to show the outcome. You can see the significant reduction of smoking prevalence from around a third of the population, 34.8. The smoking prevalence for the smokers age 20 and above, the percentage of current smokers fell to around 19% or a little below 20%. That's a significant number, showing how effective taxation is. And we do know that this will likewise apply to the novel products. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Men, for that really comprehensive presentation. I think Philippines is going through a very unique set of challenges, especially, the attacks they've had on both, global partners, foreign funding for the regulation of these new products. And there's also been some really sort of vicious and negative media sort of attacking tobacco control advocates. Because now, in fact, we're sort of seeing this across the region, is the harm reduction lobby is like really out there sort of, going after sort of, global best practices, the local advocates sort of rallying for banning these products, and we're seeing that increasingly, in a coordinated manner across countries. So it'll be good to have some discussion. But I'm going to now invite our speaker from Bangladesh, Abdul Salam, to present. And again, thank you, Men, from that very comprehensive presentation from Philippines. So, I'm turning over to Salam Bhai to present now on behalf of Bangladesh. Salam Bhai, over to you, and I'll manage. I can do your slides for you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go on.
Okay, thank you very much. So go back to the first slide, please. Go back.
Yeah, I'm on the first slide.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Salam, you can open the full presentation.
Welcome to my presentation. As Vandana said, that the regulatory framework. So we are in a very initial stage. So now I am updating you the progress we made in Bangladesh and regulating new products. Bangladesh signed the FCTC in 2003 and ratified it in 2004, formulated tobacco control law in 2005, and established a national tobacco control coordination cell in 2007, amended the tobacco control law in 2013, and also formulated rules in 2015 with some important new provisions. Actually, we are the first country, maybe our Honorable Prime Minister declared tobacco-free Bangladesh by 2014. So that is the main stream of all our energy to achieve tobacco-free Bangladesh by 2040. Prime Minister directed to run a national tobacco control program using health development sources. Second one is simplifying the complex tax structure and effective implementation of tobacco control law. Meantime, introduced health development sources in 2040-50 fiscal year, and also approved health development sources management policy in 2017. The product using this is the new product. Use of new product growing rapidly due to its affordability and availability even in online marketplace. In GATS 2017, reported that it is very negligible, around 0.2% adult more than 15 years use electronic cigarette, but it is not the real picture, as most of the cigarette users are school-aged between 12 and 20 years. No survey was conducted yet on 20 and 14 years age group, yet to understand the real extent of the problem. The source, if we consider the source, Bangladesh did not produce any e-cigarette and new products mostly imported from China and other neighboring countries, imports through both formal and informal channels. Extend to new products available in Dhaka and in big cities, divisional cities. Many shops in all these cities. So many clubs exist, emerging. Day by day, it is increasing. And also, online shops, platforms are also operating. Extent 4, aggressive marketing through popular social media, Facebook, is also going on. Meantime, many associations and trade bodies are formed. BAP, Importers and Traders Association of Bangladesh is one of them. Bangladesh Electronic Nicotine Delivery System Traders Association is also there. But meantime, the civil society and government also make a bit of commitment. On October 3rd, 2019, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has been sensitized to ban e-cigarette. Mainly this initiative was from Campaign Free Tobacco Free Kids, Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids, and that is the first step. And now the ministry is found very sensitive to go ahead with banning of the e-cigarette. 153 MPs also expressed their demand for banning the cigarette. They meet the member of the parliament, they meet the Ministry of Health, and also they meet the Prime Minister office, and they submitted their memorandum on behalf of their demand. Civil society also proactive to banning the new products. Meantime, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has initiated the amendment of Tobacco Control Law, formulated drafting committee. The committee has accepted the demand for banning e-cigarettes. So this is a big in the agenda. MPs are speaking in the parliament demanding banning of e-cigarette. Echoing voice of renowned physicians in meeting, workshops, online, print and electronic and social media demanding ban of e-cigarette. The business community also come forward. Business Association, E-Commerce Association of Bangladesh provided DO letters requesting to Ministry of Health for banning e-cigarette. MPs are active in campaign for banning e-cigarette in written articles in newspaper and in social media, template, op-ed, etc. Liquidated status. Existing tobacco control law did not prohibit or provision of control in new products. Ban of e-cigarette and other new products proposed in the Draft National Tobacco Control Policy 2016, which is not finalized yet. Government imposed 25% custom duty and 100% supplementary duty on import of e-cigarette or electronic nicotine delivery system and its refill pack since 2017 and 18 fiscal year. Liquidated status theory. Ministry of Commerce has recently approved a standard procedure of purchase on guiding the digital commerce operations where any kinds of addictive products is prohibited to buy and sell through e-commerce platform. Finally, banning of production, import, storage and marketing of all types of electronic tobacco products, that is e-cigarette, vaping, heated tobacco product, is one of the highest demanding issue in law amendment moved by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. This is the snapshot of our progress we have made in regulating new products in Bangladesh. Thank you very much for all your hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Salam Bhai, for that comprehensive presentation. So Bangladesh, as you can see, is they've got a growing problem with extensive marketing to youth, a lot of physical shops and online marketing, and I think they've begun sort of the process of taxation, as as Philippines shared, but they're still looking for a regulatory regime. The government has determined that it's going to ban the product, and it's doing this as part of its comprehensive law amendment. So our last presentation, we're going to actually move to India, to Ranjit Singh, who is a lawyer in the Supreme Court of India. And he is going to share India's journey to its comprehensive ban of all new products, which happened in the end of 2019, and is a model for countries looking for a comprehensive ban. So Ranjit, over to you.
Yeah, so thank you, Madhva. So you can see the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, we can see the screen. Go on.
Okay. So Yes, so once again, I'm going to take you back to Vandana's presentation and so the guidelines that she was mentioning about the existing tobacco control efforts in country, which is like whether it is moderate, and the market of electronic cigarettes and similar products. Your regulatory framework is going to depend on that. So, considering India's position about moderate tobacco control efforts, which is going on, and as well as very limited market of electronic cigarettes, this all indicated towards going for a complete ban. So, India went for a complete ban in 2019. India has got one of the most comprehensive acts, law on prohibition of electronic cigarettes, which deals with both. It gives a detail of what the law bans, as well as the process of enforcement of that ban. So it's a very comprehensive act. One of the whichever countries wants to go in for a complete ban can look into the specific provisions of this act. But though the act, as Vandana rightly pointed out, is of 2019, the effort, the genesis goes a decade back. So it's not that we just dawned into that we have to ban electronic cigarettes. The conversation, the evidence, the scientific studies that were pouring in from other countries, the judicial precedents, the court orders, all that was looked into. And India, since it's a federal country, there's a central government, there are states government at the subnational level. There were efforts made at both levels to go in for a complete ban of electronic cigarettes. So in the year 2012, we had one of the state, a federal state, coming where a tobacco control activist filed a litigation for regulation of sale of nicotine. So what in India, what is permitted is nicotine in extracted form is only permitted for cessation purpose, and it comes under the Drugs and Cosmetic Act. So the litigation was that this sale of nicotine, unmonitored sale of nicotine through shisha or through electronic device needs to be controlled. So the court directed the concerned government to look into this issue, and the first ban that came out at the federal level was in 2013, when an order was issued that these are, again, here we use the Drugs Act, which was saying that these are unapproved drugs and therefore it's a banned product. Thereafter, the central government looked into more evidences, example from other states, and also recommended that these novel products, we are already struggling with tobacco control effort. We don't need new products to replace the old ones. And therefore, considering the scientific evidence and others, other material which was submitted by civil society like CTFK and other government institution, medical institution, the government recommended a ban in 2014-16, and thereafter there was an influx of orders coming on from different states, where again the effort was to ban the product. In 2018, the central government, looking into the efforts made at the subnational level or federal level, requested issued an advisory to the state governments to go in for a complete ban of electronic cigarettes, heat not burn devices and similar devices. So this was, which came out in 2018. India obviously saw a lot of opposition coming from the industry, especially in the form of litigation as well as representation, and there were efforts made at all levels to tackle that. But specifically in 2019, what happened? So we have a history that for almost a decade we have been struggling, looking at the evidence, and the government at the subnational level have been coming out with orders for banning electronic cigarette as unapproved drug. In 2016, 19 specifically, there were several interventions that happened which called in for immediate law that needs to be enacted to address this issue. And starting from that, the highest premier medical institution of India, Indian Council of Medical Research, came out with a white paper giving ill effects or harmful effects of electronic cigarette on human body, and the phrase they coined was that it impacts person from womb to tomb, and also recommended a complete ban. This was followed by a survey carried out by Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids and its local Indian partners, where they said that despite the states passing orders, and since it's not a comprehensive pan-India ban, their products are still available in the market, specifically on online sale, and they pointed out to almost 36 brands that was available in Indian market, online and in the stores. Thereafter, there was some survey carried out which pointed out that school children were using these products, and in the capital of India, we found at least one survey that was carried out. Electronic cigarettes were found in the school bags of children. So it was, the proportion was alarming. The medical evidences was very supportive of a ban, but what really kicked in, or what really pushed the government to come in for this act, was that Juul and IQOS announced that they will be making huge investment, and they'll be launching their products in a very, very big way. This came out sometime in June 2019, and then the government got into action that, look, we need to come out with an emergency measure, otherwise things would go again out of control. And therefore, within 2 months, an ordinance came out, because the parliament was not in session. The President of India came out with an ordinance banning electronic cigarettes. So India has an electronic cigarette very detailed act which comprehensively bans production, manufacture, import, export, transport, sale, distribution, storage, advertisement, and all these have been clearly defined. But since this came out as an emergency measure, as an ordinance, because the Indian Parliament was not in session, this has to be tabled as a bill to be passed by the Parliament, and so that it becomes an effective act. So, and the time gap for implementation of an ordinance into becoming an act is about 6 months. So then, when the next session of Parliament happened between September to December, which was in 2019, the bill was tabled in the Parliament, and there was huge debate, and how the CTFK and other partners came on to help the government support the passage of this bill in the Parliament was that they sent a huge number of representation from the medical bodies, from civil societies, from school children, and from their parents, that they should completely ban this product. They carried out huge media stories, extensive stories across the country, that this product should be banned, explaining the harmful effect of e-cigarette. The CTFK and partners also reached out to the parliamentarians that when this bill comes into the Parliament, please support it. So a whole very strategically a process on strategy was built as to how we should ensure this bill passes away. And it would be one of the it's very, for the first time, the representation from the civil society and medical body was much more than what the industry could garner. So we outnumber them in the for reaching out in support of the bill to be passed by the Parliament. And effectively on 3rd December 2019, this bill was passed, and the ban was imposed pan-India on electronic cigarette. So quickly getting on to what does this act cover? So the scope of this act, which is clearly defined as that it covers electronic cigarette, which is defined as an electronic device that heats a substance with or without nicotine or flavors. So whether it has nicotine or not a nicotine, or whether it has flavor or not, all that would be covered by this ban. And it covers all form of electronic nicotine dilution, heat burned products, which could there, and e-hookah and the like devices. So except the NRT or cessation drugs, which comes under drugs and cosmetic act, everything, any other device which which delivers nicotine was comprehensively banned under this act, and it names all of them specifically: electronic delivery system, heat not burn devices, e-hookah and the like. So very comprehensive in its approach, covers almost all novel products which you normally hear in common language. The second is very clearly explains that it does not only include a liquid substance, but also a solid substance and gas and vapor substance. So in any form, if you're delivering nicotine by a mechanism of heating it, that or any other which would create an aerosol for inhalation would be covered by this ban. So this act, section 4, then lists out what all the ban is covered. So first part, they define what e-cigarette are and what are the products that are covered. Second part goes into detail of what is banned. So manufacture is banned, import is banned, export is banned, transport is banned. The important point is that every ban or word has been very clearly defined. What is distribution? What is export? What is sale? Which includes online, wholesale, and retail sale. So everything has been taken care of. That what the ban is. Then the second part of the ban goes on to detail on advertisement and promotions. What kind of advertisement, direct and indirect, surrogate advertisement. What is the medium that is covered? Electronic medium, internet, website, social media. So very comprehensively, first it gives the product that is covered under the ban. Second, it gives what all is banned under this act: manufacture, export, import, sale, and then goes into details of advertisement ban, which is your and the media, so internet media. The law also very clearly gives out that if you violate this ban, you can be punished with imprisonment as well as imposition of hefty fine. So the penalty clause is also there. Now, as I explained earlier, that this act came out in an emergency way because there were announcement made, declaration made by Joule and other IQOS brands being launched into India. So it came out as an ordinance, and since it came out in an emergency way, there were some provisions added. So what happens if a person who has got electronic cigarette, who's storing electronic cigarettes? This one provision was included that if you have electronic cigarettes, you have to make an itinerary or list and surrender that product to the nearest enforcement officer, which is the police in this case. So they have clearly said that if you already have electronic cigarette, make a list of these products and give it and hand the product to the nearest enforcement agency, who will then proceed with the matter. And in case you fail to do so, a time limit was given for 30 days. That in case you fail to do so within 30 days, then you would be again liable for punishment, which included imprisonment and fine in this case also. So a long-term measure about banning manufacture and sale and advertisement, and a short-term measure that if you are existing, you have an option to surrender your product, but in case you don't do, then you will face the consequences. Apart from that, there are detailed provision which is very notable, is that on the procedure for prosecution. What happens if you come across electronic cigarettes or similar devices? And here electronic cigarette just not means the entire product, even a part of the product, you know, the battery or the aerosol or the liquid. So all that is covered as a, so either as a complete product or its part. So if you come across this, they give an you know, detailed procedure of how the enforcement authority has to go, how he has to seize the product, how he has to take it to the court, and how the punishment would ensue, you know, after the enforcement procedure. The other part is that this act has provision which says that this will have primacy, or it will prevail over any other law in case there is a conflict. So that has, so it has been made into a special law by India. Secondly, it clearly says that this does not apply to like a product license under the Drugs and Cosmetic Act, which is your you know, the nicotine patches and devices used for nicotine therapy. And lastly, it gives immunity to an authorized person. So if a authorized person, which is the police, genuinely believe and acts in good faith and you know, seizes the product, proceeds for prosecution, he will not be held liable, or there could be a legal proceeding against it. So a very this entire electronic cigarette regulatory scheme that came into India is a decade-old process which culminated in 2019, and we have India has built one of the most comprehensive act which deals with both, gives detail of what the novel products are covered, the new products are covered, also gives very detailed provision of what the law bans, and lastly gives very detailed provisions on how you should implement this ban. So yeah, so here I would conclude. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Ranjit, for that comprehensive presentation. So we've got sort of 3 countries, you know, Philippines that's begun to regulate, Bangladesh is very preliminary, and now India has a comprehensive ban. So with this, these 3 comprehensive presentations, we come to sort of, you know, the presentation section of our event. And I think we are, you know, open to receiving questions. So I just, so are there going to be any live questions? I just wanted to ask the administration.
I think he's mute.
Okay.
Rajit Singh, I want to ask you something. In India, ban tobacco heaters product, right?
Sorry, are you saying India banned heated tobacco product? Is that?
Tobacco heaters product, right?
Yeah.
Ban. Oh, okay. It's the total ban in the manufacturer.
Yes, yes.
Advertise. Oh, all right. Thank you.
So just to explain it to you, so the India ban extends to both electronic nicotine delivery system where you use liquid, and heated tobacco product where you use tobacco in solid form but which is heated to make an aerosol. So the ban is comprehensive, includes both.
Okay, thank you. Salam, I want to ask you, and in the Bangladesh is the measure for the control H3P ban like India, right?
Sorry, did you mean that the steps taken by Bangladesh?
HTP, tobacco heaters product control in the Bangladesh. I want to know is a measure for the control tobacco heated product.
Well, in Bangladesh, still the law is not enforced and prohibit any form of these heated products and things. It is an informal market, so very limited number of people, I mean young people are using this. So we are in a process of, of planning this through amending our existing tobacco control law. We are in a process of amending our law, initially formulated in 2005, and then it is again amendment in 2013, and now we are processing of amending the tobacco control law and including this complete banning of the e-cigarette, including the heated tobacco products. So we are in the process of banning it through this process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Salam. Please, Vandana, please you summarize for the sessions for every person to the join in the session, please.
Okay. So are there going to be any more questions, or should I go ahead and summarize? Are there going to be other questions, or should I just summarize right now? I wasn't clear.
Okay, you can summarize because not the questions from the session.
Okay. Yeah, so I think just in summary, we obviously have, this is a very important topic in every country because, we are facing a huge sort of onslaught of marketing. I think in the beginning, we've kind of seen an interesting shift globally, which is also being seen in India as well as Philippines, is that originally the products that were being marketed were only e-cigarettes. But increasingly, we're seeing a lot of lobbying from heated tobacco products. Also, another key point is that a lot of this global lobbying is now interconnected and being supported by global platforms that are pushing this whole idea of harm reduction and sort of really pushing for regulating these products under the tobacco control law. So even in a country like India, where now all of these products, including e-cigarettes, heated tobacco products, are all banned, we're seeing extensive lobbying by companies like Philip Morris, BAT, to try to get IQOS and other sort of heated tobacco products outside the comprehensive ban. So I think countries face a huge challenge. Even in Philippines, we're seeing obviously a huge pushback to reduce the age from 21 to 18, to shift the jurisdiction from the Ministry of Health to actually the Ministry of Trade. We're seeing a lot of pushback, and then a lot of smear campaigns against global funders like Bloomberg, as well as global expert agencies, to push back on their support for public health programming in these countries. So I think it's a very critical time that public health advocates must unite. I think we have, once again, there's no one size fits all, but it is very urgent that governments, take action, whether it is a ban based on their situation, whether it is to regulate as a medicinal product, or whether it is to regulate under their tobacco control law. I think governments have to take strong action because the reality is that, these new products, they are not safe. For the most part, there's not a single product anywhere which has been, approved as a cessation device. And all of these have been, marketed to youth and are likely to sort of increase sort of both nicotine dependence and overall addiction. So I think in conclusion, I would just want to sort of thank all our three distinguished panelists from Bangladesh, India, and Philippines for providing us with a very comprehensive overview. And just wanted to sort of emphasize that I think countries need to be very vigilant against sort of attacks, both from their local industry as well as the global vaping industry. And we've got to look at sort of, new and innovative ways. We have a lot of different countries and their options. Also, even a country like India that has implemented a comprehensive measure, we have many challenges in implementation. So I think, there are a lot of learnings we can sort of share with each other and to stay vigilant and to take urgent action. So with that, I just want to thank the panelists and the APACT organizers and formally close this panel.
Okay, thank you, Wanada. The bottom line is the name of Professor Dr. Lonachai Kongskon, the chairman of the APACT. Thank you for everyone for in these sessions that interesting information for ADAPT in Thailand. I hope in the future we are to join tobacco control work together. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Very
you.
much. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you.